So I have found the secret to the perfect putt, and today we're going to talk about it. So I know you're thinking there is no perfect putt or perfect way to putt in disc golf because it's so unique in that everybody has their own different style of putting. So I'm not going to talk about the different nuances of the different styles of putting. I'm just going to talk about the most important things that you should be doing in your style of putting to make it the most consistent. So the number one most important thing with any putt that you're doing, no matter whether it's a straddle or a traditional putt, or like off to the side, like the horseshoe bowler, whatever you want to call it, style putt, all of these putts, you still want to do the same thing. And that thing is keeping the disc on a straight line. You want the disc to travel from the start to the release point in a completely straight line with the basket. The reason you want the disc to travel on a straight line towards the basket is if it's not traveling on a straight line, if you miss or the disc doesn't release out of your hand properly, it really has no chance of going in. Whereas if the disc is traveling on a straight line, it's going to continue traveling on that straight line, even if you don't really release the disc perfectly, and the disc still has a chance of going in the basket. So another thing to consider when trying to keep the disc on a straight line is not using too much wrist. If you're using too much wrist in your throw, you can end up pulling the disc off of that straight line. And if you're using your right hand, it will pull off to the right and your left hand will pull off to the left. So it's very important not to use too much of your wrist when you're throwing the disc towards the basket. So what I like to do may be different what you like to do, but I'm going to grip the disc here like this with my three fingers kind of tucked down. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my fingers to thrust the disc forward. So instead of using my wrist, I'm actually just using my fingers to give it that little pop at the end. That way it keeps the disc on a straight line. So I actually just take my fingers and I point them directly at the chain link that I want them to go at, and it keeps that disc on a straight line. Now I know there's other ways to grip the disc, but I think as long as you kind of follow the same idea of keeping your fingers and pointing your hand towards the exact target that you want to hit on the basket, it will help keep the disc on that line, and don't use too much wrist to take it off of that straight line. So some people are going to approach the throw a little bit differently. So some people are going to actually kind of lead with their elbow to get the snap out of their hand as they're leading with the elbow coming up and snapping. And some people are actually going to use more of a straight arm and they just really get the pop with the wrist at the end of the throw. Somewhere in the throw, there needs to be some sort of pop. I like to use the fingers to pop right at the end of my throw as I'm pointing towards the basket, and that allows the disc to get some spin on it. The reason I like to get a little bit of spin on it because it helps cut through the wind. So no matter where you're putting, if it's a windy day out or not, the disc can still cut through the wind and have a good line towards the basket. So the angle of the release of the disc, whether it's more hyzer or more flat, doesn't really matter. That comes more down to preference. I prefer just a slight bit of hyzer because whenever it's windy out, the wind, if it's pushing from right to left, it can actually push under the disc and lift it away. So I tend to try to keep it as flat as I can, so that even on a windy day, it's not going to affect the disc as much. But if I'm getting a strong wind, I actually just put anhyzer so that the wind pushes on the top side of the disc and won't push the disc up and take it 40 feet from the basket. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on is you want to use your entire body, including your legs, to kind of help give you a little bit of momentum when you're putting. You don't want to just use your arm 100%. You want to use your legs and your entire body to give it a little bit more momentum. It helps with the rhythm and the flow of the putt to help it come out a little bit smoother. So I know this is a short video, but I just wanted to cover what were like my light bulb moments when I really figured out how to putt better and be a lot more consistent. And that was keeping the disc on a straight line from the start to the release point, going towards the basket. And then also taking my fingers and just pointing them towards the chain link that I want and using less wrist. Those were the two major things that really helped my putt. My putt is kind of unique. I don't really see a lot of other people doing it this way. But like I said, everybody has a unique putt, a unique movement to their body and what feels best for them. So you kind of have to feel what feels best for me. But those two little things I'm talking about are kind of similar in everybody's putt. So it's something to think about, something to work on. I hope this video helps give you some ideas, and good luck out there practicing and improving your putt. We'll see you in the next video.